Born, grew, and lived among the people he eventually represented in Parliament, fighting unconditionally for the poor and oppressed in society, earning him the revered title of the People's Politician. Who was this outstanding parliamentary personality? We look at Maurice Eustace Marshal, public life of a private individual.
Here we come. Love and tea. There we come. Tell you now, we're singing praises, yeah. To your son, let me tell you now. Oh, love and tea, yeah, yeah. There we come. Walk faster, walk faster. Love and tea, okay. There we come.
Born on February 21st, 1945, to parents Eustace and Winifred Marshal, who were both Guyanese by birth, but moved to Trinidad in the 1930s, Maurice Eustace Marshal was the seventh child in a family of 9 children. He spent his early years at Prescott Alley, East Port of Spain, then moved to Harp Place in the same area, where he spent 16 years. Both areas being described as poverty-stricken. At a tender age, Maurice Eustace Marshal was diagnosed with poliomyelitis, which left him with a recognizable limp. The discovery of this illness and his subsequent recovery forms the thrust for this remarkable man, who since then was known to be a fighter with the unique distinction of going the extra mile to assist anyone who came to him.
Maurice was a very deep individual, and I think because of his own experience, as you know, as a youth, he was struck with polio, and I think that gave him an internal strength. He hated injustice. You know, Maurice served in the period 86 to 91, after the PNM was really devastated. You know, the PNM, you know, is in government from 56 to 86, and then lost that election 33-3. Maurice was one of the 3 standing at the end of the elections, and the government that came in, the NAR, as you know, they pursued some policies which the PNM considered to be anti-people, and Maurice was in the forefront of that fight for us.
He is one of the most selfless person that I've known, and that he was trying to teach the people of Laventille to be empowered to achieve whatever they wanted in life by working hard. And he really, you know, was a man of the people and one that really worked and died for the people that he believed in.
Graduating from the Belmont Intermediate School with his O-level subjects in hand, young Maurice Marshal was influenced by the late cabinet minister and diplomat Isabel Tichet, and became interested in being a teacher. After his father died and his brothers migrated, Maurice Marshal assumed the role of head of the household. He was able to do so after having secured employment with the People's National Movement's Friday newspaper, The Nation. This job also allowed him to further finance his education, and even more so, stirred his interest and subsequently introduced him into the world of politics. In 1971, Maurice Marshal finally fulfilled his dream and became a teacher. He started at the Crystal Stream Government Primary School, while also attending the Mausica Teachers Training College. Upon graduating with a teacher's diploma, he went on to teach at the Diego Martin Secondary School. In 1978, he decided to proceed on to a 1-year in-service training course for junior secondary school teachers. After this, he specialized and became a teacher in social studies, a position he held until he contested the 1986 general elections. His recognizable limp continually sharpened his sensibility to the plight of the disadvantaged, and also awakened the tremendous reserves of fortitude and courage which he had in order to survive and to prevail as he did as a parliamentarian and as the inimitable man the public grew to know.
I respected him for not only a person that was differently abled, but he showed you that once you had the ability and you can function, that he functioned so effectively despite his disabilities.
He said, "I think my physical problem has influenced what has happened to me and the type of person I am today. There is a sense of advantage rather than disadvantage." Once questioned by a paper to describe himself, he responded, "Maurice Marshal is a very, very simple person, born and bred in East Port of Spain at 27 Prescott Alley, later moving to Hart Place, where I spent probably 15 years. I think essentially that my orientation in East Port of Spain and the struggles I have undergone have influenced my thinking and the way I pursue things."
Maurice Marshal's greatest achievement had perhaps nothing to do with politics. I think his greatest achievement was the fact that he did not allow his incapacity to limit him. You know, and to me that was his greatest achievement. I remember, for example, when he organized that march, and Maurice was there in the front, and you know, the polio did not affect him. Neither did it affect him in my by-election in 1990, when he really was my campaign manager and leading the march. So to me, his greatest achievement was the fact, and I think it, you know, it's a lesson that some people can learn, the people who are incapacitated and so on, that the fact that you are ought not to limit you. Okay, they say that perhaps, you know, when in a situation like that, your other talents come to the fore, and I think I saw that in Maurice.
He explained the poverty he grew up in. "I remember occasions when we, 3 brothers and 5 sisters, didn't go to school because we were too poor. Times when there was no food, and we used to wait to see if it was our lines the T&Tech truck was coming to cut."
In 1992, there was a fire, and I was just elected 23 days as a councillor, and 127 persons were left homeless. And that was the first person that responded to me. I was there about 3:40 a.m. the morning, and at about 5:30, through the rubble, I saw this person, you know, literally digging their way through, and came to my assistance, providing breakfast for all the individuals who were there. He walked into a shop and said, "Listen, whatever she wants, give it to her," in order that the people who suffered, you know, the fire would have been comfortable. And to me, that's one of the memories I would always have of Maurice Marshal, in terms of him being the kind of individual that, you know, he was.
Maurice Marshal's political career began with his involvement in the PNM's Youth League, where he distinguished himself as dynamic, resourceful, and always ready and willing to work. He served as General Secretary of the party between 1986 and 1992. He contested and won his first seat in Parliament in the general elections on December 15, 1986, where he represented Port of Spain East and earned the election's largest majority. In that year, the PNM was removed from office after 30 years at the helm. It was then, while working together with the only other 2 successful PNM candidates, Patrick Manning and Muriel Donowa McDavidson, as opposition representatives, that Maurice Marshal truly rose to the occasion. So outstanding were his contributions, he was regarded as the chief standard bearer of the PNM. This dynamic new voice in Parliament continually expressed the views and grievances of the people he represented. This platform provided him with a forum for the socio-economic advancement of the common man and offered him the highest level of national discourse. He consistently delivered heartfelt contributions on behalf of the working class and the less fortunate in the society. 5 years after fighting his first general election, Morris Marshal again successfully fought his second general election on December 16, 1991. This time representing Laventille West, and in the process contributed significantly to the PNM regaining power. And again, he won with the highest number of votes, totaling 10,937. As he did before, Morris Marshal articulated the plight of the less fortunate. He was seen as the only one in the cabinet who could claim intimate links with the grassroots and truly knew and understood Laventille and its volatility. In many eyes, he brought to the political arena a conscience.
In the midst of anything, he would just appear. He wasn't an MP that would be in his office once or twice. You would find him wee hours of the morning. You'd find him going, insuring people who had problems with T&Tech, getting light bills paid, and always giving of himself. And he gave so much that he eventually gave his life for his country because he was ill. And even though he was ill, he continued to serve and serve efficiently and effectively.
In January 1992, he collapsed a month after assuming office and was admitted to hospital for 1 week. He attributed this situation to hard work in his ministry and the constituency. He later fell ill in November 1993 as a result of a blood clot in his leg. Married to wife Janet, and together having 2 daughters, Delisha and Anisha, Morris Eustace Marshal was known as a fighter for the poor and the destitute among the people of Trinidad and Tobago. He devoted his life to the pursuit of peace and justice. He was charismatic in his various roles as people's politician, spokesman, fighter, and conscientious humanitarian. As a representative for Laventille West, one of the more depressed constituencies, Morris Marshal was consistently under pressure to provide jobs, even as the supply for such dwindled. As the then Minister of Public Utilities, he was given the job to confront unions in implementing the employee separation program throughout the state utilities.
It is that caring for the people, putting the people first. I think that was the hallmark of Morris' political career. The fight against injustice for the little people. And I think that is what our politicians of today can learn. Politics is about service. It's not about power. It's not about getting in there and throwing your power wrong. It's about service for the little people, getting things done, and so on. And I think that's the lesson that Morris left, the legacy that he left.
As a trained teacher, politician, humanitarian, social activist, social commentator, and writer, Morris Marshal contributed significantly to the national community of Trinidad and Tobago. He founded the Laventille West Foundation, co-founded the Port of Spain East Scholarship Fund, and implemented a number of initiatives designed to satisfy the emerging demands of an increasingly sophisticated public. He articulated a lot of his thoughts and ideas in his writing, and together with Kenneth Valley, authored the book In Defense of the People's Interest, which contains articles by both men.
I deeply regretted his loss, even up to today. I think if Morris was still here, Trinidad and Tobago would have been different, quite frankly. As you know, we co-authored a book, which is really a collection of writings in that period. And I think in that you would see Morris' thoughts coming through.
Morris Marshal was also a columnist in the Daily Express newspapers, where again he expressed his views on behalf of the less fortunate. Morris Eustace Marshal died on Sunday, March 13, 1994, at the age of 49, after fighting a battle with pneumonia and septicemia for 13 days at the Mount Hope Medical Sciences Complex. But he will always be remembered, particularly by the people he so willingly chose to serve for his entire life, as the man who fought without fear and without reservation for the working class and the less fortunate in society, rightfully earning him the well-deserved title of the People's Politician. Morris Eustace Marshall, Public Life of a Private Individual.
May he rest in peace.